put the... Is this on?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not used to speaking with a hand mic, so bear with me. I usually have a lapel mic, so if I start singing to you, then just say, Ralph, stop it, stop it, stop it. So it gives me great pleasure to be here. It is not out of the goodness of my heart that I'm here. I'm also here to start looking at some deals, and so I'm going to be on the bus with James tomorrow, looking at what he has to offer, because I think Edmonton is an interesting place to invest now. I know you all have had a little bit of pain in the last little while, but things are turning around, and I think it's time to start looking a little bit more aggressively at deals. What I want to talk about tonight, I sort of had a lot of leeway. James said, what do you want to talk about? And I said, I don't know. He said, well, I'm just going to say you're a seasoned investor, and you're going to come here and talk. And great, okay, here I am. I'm a seasoned investor. So my claim to fame is I'm president of Jurock Case Investment Realty. I've been in the real estate industry since 1981. Got licensed as a realtor in 1987 and started exclusively doing investment properties in 1997. But pretty much now I'm just an investor. Like, I have a real estate company, but I'm the managing broker and I don't have any realtors. So for the realtors in here, I don't want to say this, but I will, but I call it the perfect real estate company because I don't have any realtors to babysit. I just have me. And I just like looking at deals and looking for deals. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about deals. And I also have an interest in a company called the Real Estate Action Group. I'm one of the founding partners of, it's sort of like RAIN, except it's in Vancouver. And I've bought and sold over 4,000 properties in the last little while, and with myself for joint venture partners. And also I've trained over 4,000 people on how to invest in real estate through real estate courses and events like this, things like that. Anyway, so let's get going. The topic that I chose to talk to you about is clarity and confidence, and the idea of getting, these buffed up so that you become more effective real estate investors and you go out there and take your real estate investing to the next level. I forgot I put this slide in here before I get started. I just wanted to do a big shout out to James because, he is a good friend. We have skied together, as you can see in this picture. He took me to the most wild places in Whistler, like unbelievable. Just like, James, I didn't know you could turn right here. Oh yeah, we can turn right here. You go straight down. And I'm 60. Holy shit, He's like 30, but I kept up with you. He was impressed because except the times when Whistler can sometimes get foggy. And I'm going down, and I'd never been these places before, and then they just disappear. They go around the corner, oh my God! And you take a wrong turn, and you're going off the cliff. So I would just stand and go, help! And they'd eventually come and get me, and off we go again. But that day, the snow was up to our waists, and we were just pounding the powder. But it was fun. But that's an aside. Let's get back to clarity and confidence. So clarity, just a quick show of hands. How many of you are crystal clear in exactly what you want to go out and invest in tomorrow? Okay, this is I'm in the right room. We got about 10 people put up their hands out of 100 people. So what we want to do tonight is talk a little bit more about how we get into clarity about exactly what we want to buy and where we want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever. We got to get into absolute clarity, because when you're in absolute clarity, the deals start coming at you. You're clear on what you want for a deal, and you're also crystal clear on what you don't want for a deal. So you start being much more effective as an investor. And then the confidence part, as far as confidence goes, how many of you intend to buy a property this year? Okay, and how many of you are 100% confident in identifying a good deal and tying it up? Okay, getting it to close? Yes? Still hands up? Okay. Well, I want you to get some 100% confidence in that as well. But first, I want to touch on this whole idea of clarity. So what is clarity? It's knowing exactly what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a condo, if you're looking for a multifamily property, if you're looking for something that would be suitable for an Airbnb, you have to have 100% clarity about what city you're looking for the property in, whether it's Edmonton or whether it's Calgary or Leduc or someplace in Ontario or down in Phoenix, because you have to become the 100% expert in that particular neighborhood where you're buying. So You can't have clarity and say, I'm going to buy anywhere as soon as a good deal comes up, because you have to get crystal clear, laser beam focus on a particular market so that you know exactly what a great deal is, because when they show up, you got to take action. You got to tie it up, or else some other guy that is a laser beam focus investor in that area is going to take it right out from under you. So that's the trouble with Edmonton, is I come up here and I got all you guys that are like sharks, and you're all looking at the deal, so I better figure out the market really quick. So if James calls me and says tie up a deal and I don't tie it up, when are you guys going to tie it up, right? So I have to know the market. And the only way I will tie it up is if I have a good idea of what the market is. Hence, I fly here and I go on a bus tour and I start figuring out what the market is. I'm going to tell you a little bit about one that I swung on and missed that he handed me last spring, but that's another story. And that's because I wasn't prepared. So got to get into that preparedness. The other thing is, in addition to crystal clear clarity and exactly what you're looking for, it's also what the end result is. You know, do you want to have a cash flow portfolio, or do you want to be a flipper? What do you want? Do you want to bring in joint venture partners and put in none of your own money? You have to know exactly what the end result is going to be, because then you've got the clarity to go out and find what will fit all these criteria that you've set out. And clarity can only be achieved through planning. So once you get this clear thing in your brain, you got to start thinking about, okay, crystal clarity on what you're going to buy, whether it's a condo or a multifamily or a duplex that can have suites now added in Edmonton, turn it into a fourplex, piece of land for subdivision, whatever it is. Start writing down exactly what you want, when you want to buy it, whether it's within the next day, whether it's in the next month, whether it's within the next year, where it's going to be. I touched on that. How are you going to do it? You know, are you going to put it together as a limited partnership? Are you going to use your own cash? Have you gone and gotten pre-qualified by Kyle on how much money you can borrow? Have you talked to joint venture partners or potential joint venture partners to figure out how much money you can raise? And the time frame. So I'm really big on planning. I love to plan, because when you plan, things just all of a sudden show up. And when they show up, you're like, wow, that's exactly what I planned for. And it's amazing how that works. Clear vision of where you want to be. These are just some pictures of some properties I've acquired recently. The one on the left is a duplex in Sarnia, Ontario. And the one in the middle is a 31-unit apartment building I closed on 2 years ago in Ontario. And the one on the right is a single-family house. For some reason, I got all these pictures in Sarnia, Ontario. I love Sarnia, Ontario. I own a lot of properties in Sarnia, Ontario. But I got a crystal clear vision in my mind of what I wanted, and that was cash flowing properties. And right now in Ontario, at least in southern Ontario, you can get some really amazing cash flowing properties. And I like the fact that it's the engine of Canada as far as jobs go. So what we do with our real estate action group, and me personally, is we have two ways of planning. One is a 16-page formal business plan that I do for like ongoing. And then the other is a quick one-pager that I do every month. And the one-pager is just a quick goal I want to do that month, 6 action steps that are specific things that I have to do to get to that goal. And then I have somebody hold me accountable. And I look at the progress and I correct course every month. So I change it, but always change the goal until I achieve it, and then I write another one and keep doing that sheet. And the other thing is to have accountability. Have somebody that's either a business partner, a spouse, a fellow investor at one of these monthly groups that you just meet every month and say, hey, did you do what you were planning to do last month? And they ask you the same thing. It just gets you kind of doing a little more than you otherwise would do. Another one of my favorite accountability partners is the refrigerator. And when I want to lose weight, I just write, my weight on the refrigerator, and my whole family laughs at me. And then I start to remember when I'm reaching for, another chocolate bar that maybe I shouldn't, because they're going to laugh at me. It holds me accountable. But that's another. Is Kyle still in the room? Kyle? Oh no, he's gone. Okay. He's. Have you ever heard of the keto diet? Yeah. Well, he's my keto mentor, because last January I got on the scale and I was like 30 pounds heavier than I was supposed to be. It was a big shock. Oh my God. So I stood up in front of the Real Estate Action Group, which is about 150 investors, and said, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And they're all laughing at me. And I had no idea how I was going to do it, but they were going to hold me accountable. I actually took a video. I said, okay, so a year from now, I've lost the 30 pounds. I want to take a video of you cheering me. So I took a video and they're all cheering me. And I said, now a year from now, I haven't done it. And I want you all to boo me. And so they all booed me and I took a video of that. I was like, oh, that was powerful. And so this is the thing with accountability. I just stood up and said, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I had no idea. You know, I tried exercising, nothing was working. And all these people came up to me and gave me ideas about how to do it. And one of the most powerful ones was Kyle, because he did the keto thing. And so I started doing the keto and ended up losing 35 pounds by August, about a pound a week. And then as I get here tonight, where's Keaton? Is he here? No. Yeah. So anyway, they passed me a piece of cheese pizza, good old keto cheese pizza. But anyway, that's the powerful thing with the accountability is sometimes, you know, you just don't know how the hell you're going to do something, but you just make a goal that you're going to do it and tell somebody that you're going to do it. And hopefully that person has some ideas about how you can get there. Or even better, tell a group of people you're going to do it. And all these people come up and say, hey, you know, here's some ideas, you know, get supported. So really important for that accountability in terms of clarity and getting to your goals. So let's get now on to the next stage, which is confidence. And confidence is 100% belief. It's belief that you likely will not fail. I never want you to have 100% belief that you won't fail. Like if I'm putting on a parachute, and this will never happen by the way, but if I were to put on a parachute and be sitting on an airplane ready to jump out, it would never cross my mind that there's no chance that this parachute's not going to open. Like, I don't have that much confidence. I'd say, there is a chance that the guy that folded this parachute, who might have been me, was an idiot. But what you want to do is kind of increase your chances so that you make sure that it's really highly unlikely that you're going to fail. I think that's what I call confidence. Because if you're overconfident and cocky, that's dangerous. You have to think that, there's always a plan B, but I'm confident that I can go in here and get the job done. And then the other thing is the 100% belief in the core of your soul that any kind of failure will not be catastrophic. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're going to wipe yourself out. As I get older, I'm very, very risk averse. When I was young, I was cocky. I lived in Calgary for 5 years and moved there in 1981. That's how old I am. And bought my first house and I made $6,000 in 6 months. Thought I was a genius, and I went out and bought another house, sold that one, made the $6,000, bought another house and lost $30,000 in the next 6 months. Woo! I'm a real estate investor. That's what taught me about real estate cycles. Swami, real estate cycles. There's a good saying that says, the wise man learns from his mistakes and the brilliant man learns from other people's mistakes. So learn from my mistake about real estate cycles. But in my wisdom, I went out there and I bought another house after I'd lost the $30,000 because I managed to, for some reason, the banks didn't realize that I'd stopped making my mortgage payments and I still had $6,000. So I bought a little bungalow on 14th Avenue, 215 East 14th Avenue in Calgary, just off Center Street, for $60,000. And CMHC, so $6,000 down, 10% down. And that one went up $30,000 in the next 3 years. So I was like, And I said, I'm getting out of Dodge, and I moved to Vancouver. Which turned out to be a very good thing to do because real estate's done very, very well for me in Vancouver. But the point is, I guess, I know Alberta, and I have come through real estate cycles, and I think going through situations like that, it makes you much more confident that, you start to look for patterns. And, I'm certainly more confident. I think I can recognize real estate cycles. Confidence can only be built by doing, and I really believe that you've got to get out of the comfort zone to gain confidence. So if you're afraid to write an offer, if you're afraid to buy your first multifamily building, if you're afraid to put together a joint venture partnership and be the general partner, things like this, you just got to do it. You just got to dive in and do it, or else partner with people that have experience in doing it and doing it with a partner until you learn how to do it yourself. But I love this. The magic happens a little bit outside your comfort zone. So always think about, if you want to take your real estate investing to the next level, how can I take it, out of my comfort zone a little bit? What do I have to do? And who do I have to talk to? Who can I get as mentors to take me out of my comfort zone? If you wonder why I keep looking at this thing, it's because my little button for advancing the slides is really, really small. It's like, oh, there it is. I should just keep my hand on it. Anyway, so confidence is getting into action. And you're welcome to take a picture of this slide if you want, but this is my roadmap for getting into action. You can look at this and say, where are you confident, where are you not confident, where do you need work, where do you have clarity, where don't you have clarity. But one of the most important things is you got to develop the skill to target where and when to buy. And I'm going to talk about later a little bit more of the specifics about choosing where to buy. But you have to be comfortable in your heart about where it's going to be. As I said earlier, you have to have laser beam focus and know exactly what good deals are, where you're going to buy, and when to do it. And then once you're comfortable with that, you got to start finding motivated sellers. That's my main number one way to decide whether a deal is a good deal or a bad deal, is the seller motivated? I don't care where it is, you can always find a deal whether the market is high in the cycle, low in the cycle. If you find a motivated seller, chances are you're going to find a deal. So the way I find a motivated seller is I call up the realtor, or I call up the for sale by owner. I say, hey, this is Ralph, how you doing? Good. Well, I saw you had an ad in the paper, and it's got 5 units, that's great. How old is the roof? How old is the boiler? When was the last time you increased the rents? And then I say, and by the way, why are you selling? Just as sort of an innocuous way. I don't call them up and the first question I ask is, hi, this is Ralph, why are you selling? Because then they back off. But if you ask a few innocuous questions and then you say, hey, by the way, why are you selling? Chances are they'll tell you. Same thing with a realtor. They'll more often than not tell you, unless they're a hoity-toity realtor, that no, I'm not going to release that information because, it's privileged information. So then you walk through the building with the seller anyways. Hey, why are you selling? I got divorced, or job transfer, or I'm sick of the tenants, or it's an estate sale. Like all those things are music to my ears when it's some reason that they have to sell. Because no matter how high their price is, at some point they got to face reality and sell. So I'm going to be like a dog, grabbing his ankle, and I'm not going to let go until he finally sees the light of day as to what his property is worth. And the other thing is, if they're a motivated seller, oftentimes they'll give you terms. If they really have to have a certain price, they might give you terms, like a really long completion date, might give you a vendor take-back mortgage. In the case of a deal that Saromi and I did, I said, Saromi, why don't we ask if we can get in a month early and start doing renovations? She said, you can do that? I said, well, we can ask. And they did it. They let us go in a month early. I'll show it to you later. It's a single-room occupancy hotel we bought in downtown Vancouver. Worse than downtown East Vancouver. It's like East Side Vancouver, the heroin district, but it's a moneymaker. Going to rent it to Vancouver Film School students. Anyway, so find motivated sellers, critically evaluate the deal. So you got to, first tie it up, motivated seller, reasonable price, tie it up, and then you got to critically evaluate it. So this comes back to figuring out where you want to be. What does the cash flow have to be? What's the forced depreciation potential? How much can you make on it? Now, forced depreciation is when you find a deal and somebody's asleep at the wheel and you can turn a couple of knobs, push a couple of buttons, and you get a dramatic increase in value. That's my favorite way to buy. I feel that you make the money on the day you buy. So look for a building, motivated seller number 1, asleep at the wheel number 2. So asleep at the wheel means that the rents are lower than market rents, means he's got a vacancy problem that you can fix. Could be something that he's just missing an income opportunity, like hooking up washer dryers and charging extra for washer dryers, things like that. Could be that he's paying for the tenant's shock cable. I hate that. How many of you are landlords pay the shock cable? Some? Okay, next month tell them you're not paying anymore. You'd be surprised. They'll go, huh? And they'll start paying it. And you'll get an extra $20, $30 a suite. Makes a lot of money if you have like 30 suites. I had a building up in Smithers, and we made about $200,000 just turning off the Shaw cable because of the increase to the NOI. And my property manager said, why don't you stop paying the cable? And I said, you can do that? He goes, oh yeah, we just sent him a letter. And boom, he did it. And boom, the value went up. So we bought a little building in Smithers for $750,000. We sold it for $1.3 million in about 3 years. So that was cool. So critically evaluate deals, look for opportunities where you can do forced appreciation, write killer offers. When I say killer offers, I mean where you ask for terms, ask for the Porsche in the garage. Why not? Never know, they might say yes if they're motivated. They're moving to Ontario, they don't want to take it. But seriously, long completion dates, vendor take back mortgages, access before completion. You guys don't have to worry about property purchase tax, but in Vancouver, we have to pay this bloody tax every time you buy a property, and you can put in the terms to get the seller to pay the tax. Why not? Because I can't put it on my mortgage, so get him to pay it. And you'd be surprised how many times they'll do that. So the terms, find joint venture partners. This is really important. Groups like this, sooner or later you run out of money. So the reason I've been able to buy 4,000 units is when I ran out of money, I figured out how to find joint venture partners and how to find good deals so that we keep making money on deals and they keep investing with me. It's a very simple marketing plan. Like you make your investors money and they keep putting it back in. So that works. Finance the deals creatively. So this could be with vendor take back mortgages. We closed 2 10-plexes down in Phoenix, my partner and I, last month. And she just went to a community meeting. Like we bought 1 7-plex and it's down at 12th and Devonshire, sort of near Indian School Road. Anybody familiar with Phoenix? Okay. Anyway, they have community meetings. And so Denise went to the community meeting and met this guy, Doug, and he had money burning a hole in his pockets. We said, hey, we just found a 10-plex. Will you give us 400 grand? He's like, okay. And why not? Actually, the first it happened was he told us about a 10-plex where he actually had the mortgage and he didn't like the guy that was running it. So we found an off-market deal and we bought that one and he financed it, and then we ended up finding another one and he financed it. So you never know where that money is going to come from. But I think it was definitely creative to just go to a community meeting and find your financing, because it's hard to get money in the States. It's not harder than here. Manage your properties like a pro. Now, the way I manage my properties like a pro is I get a pro to manage them, because I am a pro at finding deals and tweaking deals and making money from deals. But with all the units that I own, I don't know the name of a single tenant, and I don't want to know the name of a single tenant because it just drags me down. Like, property managers are great. Property managers earn their money. And I have a very interesting story about how I learned the whole concept of the no limits property management system, and that was that I started investing in houses that were rooming houses. Like in Vancouver, they had 3-story old Victorian houses, 6 bedrooms, and I would rent out the rooms for $300 a month, make about $1,800 a month out of the property. And I was buying the properties for about $250,000, so they cash flowed like a damn. The trouble was that the people were a little bit funny, the people that rent the rooms. A little bit quirky, like, they'd call you up and say, Joe's watching this on TV, and, I want to watch this, like Days of Our Lives or General Hospital, and they're not cleaning the dishes, they're not picking up their socks, blah, 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 blah. I could deal with it because the cash flow was good. And then, so I bought a second house, and I had 12 people who would call me every month and, start telling me this stuff. And, it was still good cash flow, so I bought a third one, had 18 people getting the calls, going around collecting the money. And it was starting to irritate me. But the thing that really broke the camel's back was when the doorbell rang at 2 in the morning and I didn't get up out of bed to answer the door. My wife did. And it was a police officer. And he was saying, Mrs. Case, you own the house on 1015 East 10th Avenue. And she's like, Ralph, get over here. Oh, yes, dear. So I said to the officer, yes, what's the problem? Well, they're making a big ruckus. Blah, blah, blah. I'll fix it, no problem. But my wife said, get rid of those houses, sell those houses. So the light emerged, and I went from single-family houses into apartment buildings. And with an apartment building, you just build it into the budget, right? You buy a building, and there's going to be a property manager, whether it's 5% or 10%, just build it into the numbers. And so I can buy as many properties as I want. I've got joint venture partners in Phoenix. I've got joint venture partners in Sarnia, joint venture partners in Vancouver. And I go traveling. I go to Greece. I go to Vietnam. I go wherever I want to go, but I don't want to be involved in the day-to-day management of the property. And so this gets into the fact of building the team. You got to build this crackerjack team that is going to do the work for you. And I call it the no limits property management system. And also part of your team is a good home inspector, good realtor, maybe a few good realtors in different cities. And what I love is on my team is I've got great joint venture partners that are just like powerful at making the deal happen. So I raise the money, I kind of put the pieces of the deal together, and then I say, listen, I don't really want to be in the day-to-day, I want to be in the sort of the elder statesman, like put it together, and then when we sell it, we all get a split of the money. So that works, right, Swami? It does. Anyway, so another part of confidence is watching others. So coming to groups of investors and watching other investors have success is a great way to build your confidence. And just glom on to people. If you see people that are having success doing real estate investing, just tag along with them. Find out what they do, how they do it. And maybe they want some kind of a little underling that will help go bird dog deals or help with the property management or, whatever it takes. But just do whatever it takes to build your confidence in working with others. The other thing with confidence is principles. Now, I love this slide. I've been showing this slide for like 30 years, and the only thing that changes is the decimals next to the numbers. But the bottom line is, you buy real estate, and even if it doesn't go up a nickel, your tenant is going to pay off the mortgage. So that gives me a lot of confidence that it makes sense to buy real estate. And then another principle of real estate is if it goes up 3% per year, and in 25 years it doubles in value, that's only 3%. So that's something that gets me really, really excited. And add to that the fact that I can do forced appreciation, find a deal where I can actually put something in, some added value that's going to give it a big bump in price, and I can shorten the amortization to say 20 years or 17 years or something. It's an awesome, awesome thing to invest in, way better than stocks. Like, I love real estate, and it's just confidence, 100% confidence in these principles that it will continue to work, and that I can make a mistake and buy something that's expensive and go down in value, but long term it's going to be great because my tenant's going to pay it off and I'm going to have whatever it's worth free and clear for forever. Now, you guys in Edmonton put up with a few more real estate cycles and roller coasters than we do in Alberta. Like, the price of oil has a little bit to do with your market. But that previous slide, even with the ups and downs of oil, if you buy good quality properties over the long term, they're going to be fine. But my little adventure in Calgary, where I made 6,000, lost 30,000, made 30,000, this is kind of the stuff you look at, where, as the market goes up, vacancies decline, and then all of a sudden there's increasing vacancies, new construction, so that the vacancies increase, prices go down, but then it all starts again, and you start the phase after a little bit of a cleaning house of, the developers stop building, people keep moving into the city, people keep having babies, and the population grows, and sooner or later the cycle turns. So what we want to do is buy in the low of the cycle and sell at the high, or just have the long term that we're going to ride through these cycles, because generally they go up and down, but the general trend is up. So you can't get too bothered with real estate cycles, and this comes back with the confidence. But when you're buying, try and buy in the lows, not at the absolute highs, because if you buy at the absolute high, you're going to take a little bit of a roller coaster ride, and it'd be better just to recognize where you are in the cycle and maybe wait a little while, or negotiate a much better deal. Now, this slide is interesting, and it just shows how real estate, the market keeps on moving through all these crises. And you get some people that are just so hung up on analyzing where the market's going to go and what the midterm elections are going to do. And I know you guys have a election coming next spring for the provincial government, and that's probably going to have a profound effect on your real estate market. But you can't just wait until that election. You got to get going now. You got to anticipate these kinds of things and just get out there and hope. I think it's, is it beyond hope? No. I think it's a pretty good, from people that I've spoken to, it's probably a pretty good bet that there's going to be a different government after the next election. Maybe it's just the room I'm in, I don't know. But anyway, it's the same thing in BC. Like, you'd think we would learn from you guys, but we had an NDP government too. It's like, and then they start bringing in these vacancy taxes and speculation taxes. It's like, excuse me, but why do you want to have the real estate market go down for affordability so that we all go broke? Like, huh? Like, you know, they don't understand that the correspondence between the real estate market and prosperity. Like, if real estate's going up, you have jobs of construction, you got jobs of renovations, you got jobs of realtors. Like, it's good to have real estate go up, you know? And the NDP thinks it's good to have real estate go down so that it's affordable. Like, huh? Excuse me, that's my one political rant for the night. But anyway, this one's pretty hard to read. I apologize because I think it's the screen that is the backdrop. But it's just things like, you know, the oil crisis in 1973 and, you know, the Gulf War and 9/11, and all these things happen. It's crisis, Donald Trump, crisis, you know. Missiles are going to be coming from North Korea. But all these things, the real estate market just keeps chugging along, you know, because it's a very basic commodity. People need a place to live. People need to pay rent. And this, again, I'm getting back to confidence. Like, don't let all these newspaper headlines shake your confidence. Like, you got to rely on these principles that real estate is a damn good thing. The place you're going to be investing in has a strong market. And just keep out there swinging the bat. This is the real estate cycle of Vancouver from 1980 to 2018. And it's a pretty nice curve. Just makes me cry when I think of those 3 houses my wife made me sell. It was like $6 million, you know, that I would have extra. But I'm getting greedy guts. All I would have had to have done was pay a property manager $200 a month for each house and, you know, forgotten about them. But I took the money and I put it in an apartment building. So, like I say, I'm being greedy guts. I won't dwell on that. Whoa! Sorry. It's that $6 million that I lost that's got me trigger happy. Yeesh. Okay. Here's another principle of confidence. Is that buy when you're young. You know, this is the difference of money you have, whether you start investing when you're 25 versus 35. And look at that. Again, I apologize the clarity because of the backdrop of the screen, but it's like $1 million difference just starting 10 years earlier, investing the same amount of money. So if you're questioning whether to start tomorrow or start today, start today. Like, the earlier you start, the better. The earlier you get your kids a head start, the earlier you train them how to start identifying properties. You know, it's a really important principle for confidence. This one's my favorite, and I'm afraid that my spreadsheet isn't going to work out very well, but we'll just go with it. Did Kyle talk at all about the multiplier effect? No? Okay, so the multiplier effect is one way to do forced appreciation. And basically, it's a 200 to 1 ratio if you buy something that's got a 6% cap rate. And it means that for every dollar in rent that you can increase, it increases the value of your building by $200. And the way it works is this. A cap rate is basically your rate of return on a building as if you owned it free and clear and you're not making any capital expenditures like a roof or new boiler, things like that. It's just using maintenance, general routine maintenance as your expenses, property management, insurance, property taxes, things like that. And the rent comes in, and then what's your net return? So most, I've heard, buildings in Phoenix are around a 6% cap rate. This is what I've been working on since I've been buying down here in 2012. So what it means is that if I can rent 10 empty suites for $500 a month, that gives me an extra $5,000 per month income to the bottom line, because it doesn't really change the expenses. I've got 5 that were empty, I fill them up, I still pay the same amount of heat and water and stuff like that, like minimal change. So I've got about $5,000 per month coming in. You multiply that by 12 months, that's $60,000 per year. Now, with a 6% return, if you take that $60,000, that means you've increased your building by $1 million just by increasing those 10 vacancies. And you could make that extra $5,000 other ways. Other ways, you could increase the rents, you know, on 50 suites, $100 a month per suite. Turn off the cable, you know, little things like that. But the amount you change that net operating income at a 6% cap is a 200 to 1 ratio. As the cap rate goes down, it's a lower return, so the amount you increase the rent is an even higher ratio of how much you get bang for your buck. So the difference between a 6% cap rate and a 4% cap rate is tremendous. Like, at a 4% cap rate, you probably get like a 300 to 1 ratio increase. So this is what I love to do. I love to find a building where the owner's asleep at the wheel and I can go in there and change the net operating income and get a huge return. So 60 grand, and again, this is at a 6% cap rate. If you want to figure out what it is at a different cap rate, you just divide by, like a 5% would be, divide by 0.05 instead of 0.06, and then it would spit it out. So that's a little bit about confidence and clarity. What I want to talk about now is just thoughts from a seasoned investor. Where's James? James here? Oh, he's going to watch me on tape. Okay. Hi, James. No. He's recording me, so he'll listen to me later. But anyway, what I want to do is just talk about some of the things I've learned over the last little while and some of the things that I'm doing lately in terms of investing. From 2004 to 2011, I was a flipper, and I would buy strata title buildings and I would sell them off to individual investors. So I'd find a 50-suiter. One example that comes to mind was in Kamloops. I bought 48 units with my partners, and we got them for like $30,000 a door, and we sold them for $40,000 a door. This was in 2004, and we thought we were geniuses. You know, that's $480,000 we made in just flipping a deal. We did a skip transfer, so we didn't even own it. Like we tied it up, we found the investors, and because they were so cheap, I mean, $40,000 a door, I made them buy 4, so I only had to find 12 investors, and flipped it, pat on the back. But then the value of the building or the suites went to $120,000. Like, should have hung on to them. Like, what was I doing? Back to that 3 houses I sold. Jeez, I should have just held on to all the real estate I've ever owned. But anyway, went through British Columbia and found all kinds of places like Prince Rupert, Williams Lake, Kamloops, Nanaimo, Prince George, Quesnel, and found buildings that were already strata titled and would find end users that wanted cash flow condos, and I would flip them. But the trouble was you flip, and it's like standing in quicksand. Like if you really want to make a lot of money, you want to buy and hold. So in 2012, we made the switch that we just started buying and holding, buying apartment buildings and holding. So most of the buildings that we bought were in Phoenix, and again, with about a 6% rate of return and getting financing at about 4%. So the cash flow numbers worked great, but it was also a great opportunity to find places where we could change this net operating income. So my thoughts for the seasoned investor, like the number one is buy and hold, and the other one is to look for this forced appreciation. You learn nothing from me tonight. It's, get out there and start getting crystal clear clarity on how you can build your portfolio so that you're buying and holding, whether it's with joint venture partners or whether it's through your own resources. Sooner or later you run out of money, you may have to look at joint venture partners, but also look at this forced appreciation. So I'm going to skip through this because I explained the multiplier effect, and I'm going to show you this little property we bought in January of 2013 for $4 million in Phoenix. This was an interesting one because I was in Palm Springs with my wife, and my partner phoned me and said, Ralph, I just found this deal in Phoenix. And what happened was he was snooping around another deal, and the maintenance guy was raking the sand and said, I think the lady down the street wants to sell. So Dave went down, and sure enough, she was at the property, and he said, you want to sell? And she says, yeah, I want to sell. I can't stand my tenants. My husband passed away, and my tenants are good for nothings, and if they looked at her funny, she would evict the tenants. So she had like a 30% vacancy rate. And it was a pretty nice property. The Siesta Villas in Mesa, they're all what we call patio homes or attached townhouses. So he phones me up in Phoenix, says, Ralph, you got to get over here and take a look at this. So me, with my wife, like, guess what, honey, I've got to go to Phoenix, and I'll be back tomorrow. She's like, no, you can't go alone. So she drove with me. And if you've ever driven from Palm Springs to Phoenix, you ever gone past the border where the federal prison is? It says, don't pick up any hitchhikers. Like, duh. But anyway, we made the 8-hour drive from Palm Springs to Phoenix and looked at this property. It was great. And then we made up a little spreadsheet. And what the spreadsheet showed was a $4 million purchase price We had a net operating income of about $270,000. That's the green stripe. I apologize. If anybody wants some of these slides, I'm happy to share them. So just talk to James, and I apologize, these are illegible. But anyway, we had a net operating income of $275,000, and the plan was to bring it up to $390,000 over here. This was in year 4. And so the value of the building went from 4.5. We bought it for 4, but we put in about $500,000 fixing up the suites and making them nice and getting the rents to go up. And the idea was to sell it for 6.5 and make a lot of money on our money, because she gave us a vendor take-back mortgage of $3 million. So we only had to come up with $1 million plus the money to do the reno. So we raised about 1.5, and we ended up selling it for 6.5 in, what did I say? I think that was 2016. I got to make sure I don't push the wrong button. Yeah, May of 2016, we sold it for 6.5 million. Just right on the button. That was so happy. But that's a good way to make money, is find some place, like I say, where someone's asleep at the wheel, make up a plan of how you're going to increase that net operating income. And the way we increased the net operating income was just bringing the rents up to market rents, cleaning them up, bringing them up to market rent. And we didn't kick them out if they looked at us cross-eyed. We did get rid of the problem tenants, and we turned around the flavor of the building, but for the most part it was a no-brainer. The next one was March of 2014. We bought one near Grand Canyon University on Coulter Avenue. It's called Coulter Meadows, beautiful townhouses, 71 units. We paid $4 million. And this was a cool one because we found it through a property manager that was doing like furnished rental property management in North Scottsdale. Like, my partner had a condo in North Scottsdale, and she was his property manager, and she said, I know this woman from Colorado that wants to sell this property down, not a great area, it's the I-17, but the interesting thing was it was right next to Grand Canyon University. So what did we do? We tied it up, we did the due diligence, we thought it was a great deal, we bought it, and it was going to be the same idea as Siesta Villas, as we were going to increase the value a couple $1 million over 4 years, grinding it out. And then we got a call from Colliers saying, hey, you want to sell it for $5 million? This was a month after we bought it. I'm like, huh? Yeah, sure. Why not? Just for the story that I sold the building for $1 million a month after I bought it. So that was worth it just for that. But sometimes you get just darn lucky. But you're out there looking for the deal so you can do the forced appreciation, and then boom, every once in a while something like this comes up. So we ended up selling it for a little bit over $5 million. We didn't just accept their first offer. We bumped them up a little bit. And the only sad thing to this story is that the Internal Revenue Service charges you income tax rather than capital gains tax if you own it for less than a year. So if, hindsight is 20/20, if I had to go back to do it again, I would have said, come back to me in a year, so that I get like 15% more of the profit that I don't have to pay to the government. Also, the fee we paid to the mortgage broker for breaking the mortgage was like $100,000. It's like, ow, ouch, ouch, ouch. But still, cry me a river, Ralph. You made $1 million in a month. Some of the other opportunities I look for. Foreclosures. This was on Bowen Island. Does anybody know where Bowen Island is? It's like 20 minutes out of West Vancouver by ferry. The kids go to West Van high schools. There's virtually no product available on the market if you want to go buy a detached house, and there's virtually no product on the market if you want to buy a building lot. So we found this subdivision that was stalled. The owner had gone broke, ended up belonging to a bank in Toronto, and we picked it up for $2.9 million for 80 acres. And that's like price of a crack house, in West Vancouver. So we thought, we can't go wrong with this, can we? So now it's appraised at $17 million, and we've got it. The subdivision is approved. We're selling lots right now, and we've got 31 lots that are worth about $500,000 each. And it's a nice little development, but it's sort of looking out and being creative and figuring out how you can make money in different kinds of creative ways to do deals. I'm going to show you a couple of sold deals, and then I'm going to go back to some of the deals that I've bought recently. But sold deals, this one was this year. Another one of those forced appreciation ones that was down in Mesa. It was called Oasis. It was a 31-unit apartment building. We bought it for like 1.3 and we sold it for 3.2. So we made about $2 million on that in 4 years, doing forced depreciation, just increasing the rents, increasing net operating income, mainly making the building pretty so that people that want to pay a higher rent will move into it, and being good about the expenses. This is across the street from the Oasis was five plexes, and we picked these up for about $60,000 a door, and we ended up selling them for about $110 a door this year, and so we made about $2 million on that. That was a happy one. Again, just property management, right? Increasing the net operating income. The Phoenix market, the cap rates have not changed, maybe 0.5% from 6% to 5.5%, but the big engine of growth is forced depreciation, finding a place where somebody's asleep at the wheel, and then boom. And this is what I see in Edmonton now. Where's James? Oh, there he is. He's schmoozing, ignoring me again. I'm going to give him a hard time. But in Edmonton right now, there are a lot of don't-wanters in apartment buildings, as far as I know, because rents have dropped, vacancies have increased. It's a tough game out there, but if you know what you're doing, you can make your way through it, because there's a fairly large population here, and all you have to do is outmanage the guy across the street. You might have to take a little haircut and reduce your rent a little bit and, suck it in for a little while, but there's tremendous opportunity when the market turns, or even in this market, to increase the net operating income. Just doing a better management job than a lot of the landlords out there that are doing crappy management jobs. If you can find opportunities like that, there's gold, and that's why I'm up here looking, because this is Canada, I don't like the U.S. because, I don't know, it's just different down there. I think this is a great place of opportunity, whether it be Ontario or Alberta, even in British Columbia. Come to another one. This one just closed actually, my partner phoned me to say that the check is ready to pick up on this one. So I'm really excited to go back to Vancouver. But this was 98 units in Mesa on 10 acres. And we learned from this from our property manager. It was an off-market deal, $4 million. We had to get the mortgage ourselves. They wouldn't do a vendor take-back mortgage. But 98 units, and it was just all retired people. It was like a little beehive. You never saw the people. Just like, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, and we paint the sidewalks, and you'll fix it up, and every once in a while, you hope somebody didn't die and nobody found out about it. Got to check on these people so that we don't have any, decomposing corpses. I hate to be, it's Halloween, I can make a joke like that, right? Anyway, so we hung on to that for 4 years, and we just sold it last month for $9.9 million. Woohoo! So, $5 million payday. No, $6 million, because we paid 4. Yeah, 4 to 6. So that was a nice, and we invested 1.5. So that was like a 4-banger. 1.5 turned into 7.5. So hallelujah to that. Love. It was called Albany, and out in East Mesa. This one is in just outside of Whistler in a little town called Pemberton. This was a foreclosure deal. Again, a bank in Toronto. We bought it and we flipped it in 2 months and made $2 million on it, because owners asleep at the wheel. In Toronto, foreclosure, they were a don't-wanter. It was, the interesting thing was, it was an embarrassment on their books. They had their board of directors meetings, they had all these perfect loans, and this one had foreclosed. So, let's get rid of it. I was like, yeah, sure, get rid of it. So we did get lucky, because it was 23 individual condos and 12 strata units, and our intention was to sell them off individually. We just found one buyer that came along and took the whole thing. So luck occurs when preparation meets opportunity. That's my favorite saying. The venue, this is another interesting thing. We Ozzy Jurok, my partner, and myself, we had the opportunity to market some pre-sales. We sold 75 pre-sale condos to our investors in Vancouver, and they ended up appreciating dramatically, like $130,000. So this picture here is my 31-year-old son, bless his heart, who went to UBC and got a degree in fine art. Oh. Then he went to work as a storyboard coordinator at an animation company and decided that's a dead end. Then he went back to BCIT and studies mechanical engineering, and he's in his 4th year, and he's learning differential equations and My background is a geophysicist. That's how I ended up in Calgary. So it warms the cockles of my heart that he's finally seen the sense in being an engineer. But anyway, a couple of years ago I said, hey Russell, we're doing this thing in Surrey. You want to buy a condo? And he's like, oh, I don't have any money. I go, well, I'll lend it to you. Oh, okay, so just sign here. And then, so this April, I said, hey Russell, that condo that you bought for $197,000 is now worth like $320, something like that. You want to sell it? And he's like, yeah. So he flipped it, but a guy paid him $339,000 for his $197,000. So he's there collecting a check for $135,000 from the assignment. Woo! And Dad was going woo because I had all these, like I'm writing him a check every month for student loans, and I said, guess what? It's time to come back to Daddy. You get the money, but I get my loan back. This is my motivation for investing. But anyway, it's another way to make money in real estate, right? Like you've got all these pre-sales in Edmonton. There might be opportunity there, or looking at pre-sales in Toronto or Vancouver or something. Like the great thing about a pre-sale is you don't have to get a mortgage. You just put a deposit, goes in a lawyer's trust account. If they don't deliver title to the property, your money is safe. So I really like pre-sales for that reason. Some ongoing deals that I'm doing. So those are just some deals where I made some money recently, just to broaden your horizons about, that I'm not just a faker up here, even though James isn't listening to me. Ongoing deals, we're selling the lots on Bowen Island, so that's chugging along. Would have been nice if 30 people showed up all at once. We did another pre-sale in Surrey because 1,000 people are moving into Surrey every month, so there's a lot of opportunity in Surrey. We're going to be doing another one next January. So if you're ever thinking of moving to the Lower Mainland, a pre-sale might be a good way to do it. We have this particular neighborhood called Wally, which is like, it's just right up there with the place we bought the downtown east side building, but it's on the way up because it's right at a SkyTrain node. It's within a couple of kilometers of 8 colleges, and a big chunk of land that is full of bad things is being turned into a concrete high-rise and redevelopment, so the whole neighborhood's changing. Now, this one is the downtown east side property. We call it Academy House, and there is my joint venture partner, Saromi Lee, who was speaking here last month. And Saromi is an interesting character. She joined our real estate action group about a year ago. She ended up doing 6 joint ventures in 1 year, or 5, and then she bought one for herself as well, but she bought 6 multiplexes, like 4plexes. And she's just a house on fire. I was very impressed. So she was interested in the deal in Pemberton, so we got talking about student rentals. And I really started understand what a bright gal she is regarding numbers and crunching numbers and getting income out of properties. And then she phoned me from Korea and said, hey, I just, the weirdest thing, I got a call from the guy that places students for housing at Vancouver Film School that there's this listing that came up on East Hastings Street. And funnily enough, I've already been through it, and it's a great building. And what should I do? And what do you think I said? Tie it up. Yeah, exactly. Tie it up. So she's in Korea, and she's like, how do I do that? Who do I get as a realtor? It's like, call the listing agent. Oh, why? Because he wants both ends of the commission. Like, if you're going to catch a fish, get him with a double hook. Because if a realtor knows that he's going to get both ends of the commission, what's he going to say to the other realtors that come along with an offer? Like, no, sorry, it's sold. No. So anyway, she did that. She contacted the realtor. We tied it up. It was a 6-month-long gruel to get it closed because it had no income. Like, it's very unusual to find a single-room occupancy hotel in the downtown east side of Vancouver with no people in it. And it just happened to belong to a church, and I guess they used the rooms for when Koreans came into the country and let them stay there for a little while before they went out into the community. So for the most part, it wasn't quite empty, but we were able to get empty when we took possession. But the interesting thing was I told Saromi to negotiate that we could get it a month early because it needs significant renovations. So a few of those people didn't move out. So we're doing the renovations and kind of tripping people and say, oh, by the way, the toilets are turned off. Sorry about that. But anyway, we wrangled our way through it. And so what we're doing is each room, there's about 10 rooms on each floor. They used to look like that, and now they look like this. We changed the flooring, we changed the paint through the whole place. So it looks like $1 million. And each student will pay anywhere from $800 to $1,200 per month. And we're going to get like 30 students in there. So if you do the math, it's quite the cash flow opportunity. Plus we have a main floor retail that will get about $5,000 a month, and a full basement that we might put in some storage and rent out some storage. So it's awesome. Like, this is something that just closed recently, and people say Vancouver is expensive, but there's always deals. Like, we picked this up for $2.7 million. Again, same as that Bowen Island property, the price of a crack house in East Vancouver, West Vancouver. I mean, it just seems to be like really good value, and you can get 30 people in a place and pay $800 a month for 2.7. Hallelujah. So changing gears a little bit, I'm also buying in Sarnia, Ontario. So the building on the left is an apartment building, 16 units. I've got under contract that I'm negotiating with. The one on the right is a 31-unit building I bought in April of 2015 for $2 million, 31 units. And I got a call from the realtor that I could sell it for $3 million now. Again, just increasing the net operating income. Sarnia is a city of about 100,000 people, right on the border of Michigan. It's the second busiest commercial port between Canada and the U.S., the number one being from Windsor to Detroit. And it's a happening place. And I went in there with Katie, who's up there on the roof with me. Oh, I did the light. There we go. Let me go backwards. So Katie, what was the point I was going to make about her? Well, she's kind of my boots on the ground in Sarnia. So her dad is a retired chief of police. Her mom's a retired nurse, and she lives there with her partner and her son, and her whole family live in Sarnia. So I met her, and the reason I started investing in Sarnia was not that Sarnia is so great. Like, you could invest in Cornwall, you could invest in Windsor, any place in Ontario, but I had my boots on my ground and a joint venture partner there that would look after stuff. If I get a call from the property manager that something's amiss, she's right there, Johnny on the spot. So anyway, before I bought the apartment building, we started looking at single-family houses because she asked for some help in investing, and I said, I'll come give you some advice. I'll skip ahead. These houses we bought in April of 2015, and she said, come look at houses. And you can buy in Sarnia, at least 2 years ago, you could buy a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house, detached garage, 50-foot lot for $100,000. So those two in the top right, we bought for about $100,000 each. That bottom one we bought for $100,000, and the top left one is a duplex, which we paid $170,000 for because the income's a lot higher. So for that one, we get income of about $1,500 a month. The other 3 houses, we get $1,100 to $1,200 per month. And the same families have been in them since we bought them 2 years ago. So they're just ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. Like, our rate of return on that stuff is like, probably 20% at least, plus the principal pay down. We've got 5-year locked-in mortgages at like 2.2%. It's amazing. But my point here is, just because you're an apartment building investor, like, if a really good deal on a single-family house is staring you in the face, just buy it. Now I'm going to back up a sec because these are properties that I bought this year. So I'm really excited about Sarnia, and I told Katie, because all the realtors in Sarnia were not very good to get licensed, so she got licensed as a realtor, and she started sending me deals. So the top left one is a 4-plex. So I bought that for $315,000. This one is a commercial building with a duplex in the back and a commercial property in front. I picked that up for $119,000. I picked up the 4-plex for $315,000. It brings in $3,000 a month. The one in the top, the bottom here, that's a little duplex on Davis Street. That brings in $1,500 a month. I bought that for $125,000. And Mitten Street, the commercial one, I think it was $119,000. And it's like, geesh, it's incredible. Like, prices like this are so great because you can put them in your kids' Christmas stockings, And when the Royal Bank was giving me the gears about the financing, I just said, I gave them the finger and I just bought them all cash. I said, screw it. Go to hell. I love doing that to the bank. Anybody from RBC here? Sorry. Anyway, I got to get moving. Jesus, 9 o'clock. I got to get cracking. Okay, so what am I? Next one I'm buying is Phoenix. So this is an interesting story. Always follow the paths because you never know where they may lead. Denise Anderson was a good friend of mine, and she moved to Phoenix because she got a green card sponsorship from a company that she worked for in the U.S. at one point. And I was in Phoenix, and I decided I'm just going to phone Denise and see what's up. Went for lunch with her, and she said, I've got this concept that I want to do Airbnbs in Phoenix. And I said, oh, that sounds great. Why don't you do it? She said, well, I keep finding deals, and I've got an investor in LA, and he's just not willing to do it. Like, he won't jump off and do a deal. I said, well, I'll do a deal with you. She goes, okay, well, next when I come across, I'll phone you. So I went back to Vancouver, and like the next day, she phones me, and I found a deal. I said, well, tie it up. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you found a deal, tie it up. She says, that's not what most investors say to me. They say, you know, like, oh, I don't know. So anyway, she was shocked at that. She tied it up. I flew down and looked at it and didn't like it. I gave it the eh. And she phoned me on another one, and I flew down and looked at it. I said, you know, the numbers didn't work. Too much renovation costs and not enough income. So she's driving me back to the airport, and she's kind of down in the mouth. I said, Denise, like, don't be down in the mouth. Like, I'll fly down here every single time you find a deal. Like, every time we find a deal and we don't do the deal, you're learning something. So just don't get down in the mouth. Come on, the next one's going to work. And sure enough, she called me, you know, about a week later, and there was this deal where, you know, she's up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and she sees a deal where we'll get vendor financing. And it's 7 units plus 12 units. They're across the street from each other, 2 separate titles, but you had to buy the whole thing. The vendor's going to finance like 75% of it. So anything with vendor finance in the States gets my attention. So I said, tie it up. So she went against 6 other offers, and she managed to get hers to win out. I flew down, and the 7 looked really good on one side of the street. The 12 looked horrible on the other side of the street. Like, they were built on cinder blocks, and then they put tile floors, so all the floors were sinking. It was just a, you know, bulldozer bait. Whereas the 7 were concrete blocks, solid slab foundations, like really solid. So I said, well, we got to take a pass, you know, again. And so we took a pass, but then the realtor came back and said, listen, they'll split it up. They'll sell you the 7, and you don't have to take the 12. So we ended up buying the 7, and the interesting thing was they gave us a great price. They just kind of divided the price proportionally, even though the 7 were worth a lot more than the 12, and we got the vendor financing. And then we ended up getting the 10-plex, this one, which is on a huge, almost a 1-acre lot, 2 doors away from the community meeting with the guy that loaned us the money on the 7-plex. So things just sort of lead, like always follow a path, because you never know where the heck it's going to lead. And then that led to the one on Tierney, where I'm standing in front of it, right there. We closed on that in early September. That's another 10 units. So we call them Palmetto Cottages, and we're doing Airbnb. So the 7 that we closed on last April, we've just put on stream, and we build it up. Like, this is our Airbnb. Like, as soon as we turn on the switch on our Airbnb website, it's like bum, 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 bum. Like, people want to rent it for a month. There are a couple of there that are like $5,000. So they're taking it from January to March next year. So hallelujah for Airbnb, and hallelujah for thinking of creative ways to get income out of properties, right? Like, these would work even if we were doing monthly rentals, but the fact that we've got Airbnb going, it's like, wow, like, gives, you know, just gets me all excited. So before, you know, I start getting too excited, there's James. Just keep going. Well, this is the one that got away. This is James called me. He said, I got this incredible 12-plex. What was the address? It was on 88th Avenue. Yeah, I still cry about this one. But this is the danger when you don't know the market, right? If I had known the market, I would have bought this in a heartbeat. And his concept was to buy these 12 units and to turn them all into Airbnb, and it would have been a super, super, super cash flow opportunity. But it was like, I wasn't familiar with Edmonton. I did fly up here. I spent $1,000 to fly from Vancouver to Edmonton. $1,000, and I was like, I could be going to London. What am I doing going to Edmonton? And it was like February. And then I also persuaded my partner, Ozzy Jurek, to fly with me. He's like, Ralph, what are you doing? You know, I still haven't told him that I spent $1,000 on those tickets. I think I just ate it. I felt so bad. Like, oh my God. But anyway, we came up here. We went through it. Looked great, but we were just cranking the Airbnb numbers. And we just made it too complicated. Like sometimes when you make a deal too complicated, you get confused and you just back away because of confusion. So if you're ever worried about a deal and you think it's too complicated or you're thinking of backing away, just try and simplify it. Dumb it down as much as possible. Like for me, Bowen Island, 80 acres, same price as like a house in West Van. I'm getting 80 acres, that's already got the subdivision 99% approved. Like that seems like a no-brainer, like just keep it simple. Or the Academy House, Saromi's like, yes, she's been doing student rentals for 10 years. She's got 275 clients. Do you think she knows what she's talking about? When she tells me we can get 30 people in there at $800 a month, I have not a doubt in my mind that we can do it. So you try and get that kind of confidence. If you don't have the clarity and confidence, you are going to walk away from the deal. You're going to miss opportunities. So how do we accelerate into 2018 and beyond? First thing is be aware of these market cycles and also be aware that different parts in Canada are at different stages in the cycle. So you guys in Edmonton right now are at the bottom of the cycle. I don't think you have much to go down. I went into Phoenix in 2008 and the market kept going down. So the first deal I did in Phoenix, I actually lost money for a little while. But did I panic? No, because I had confidence and clarity. I kept on, and then you see all the deals that I kept buying through 2008, 2010, 11, 12, and then now I'm reaping the benefits of that, but it's the confidence and clarity. So Toronto right now is on the upswing. Edmonton right now is on the upswing. Toronto was really hit hard last year with their foreign buyer tax, and listings skyrocketed and prices plummeted, but now they're back in the saddle and they're starting to rip roar again. Vancouver is in a downswing. So we're in a challenging market right now, but there still are opportunities. So I'm always keeping my eyes out for opportunity. What you want to keep in mind, whatever market you're looking for, is there going to be job growth? Is there going to be lack of supply because builders are not building? Or for whatever reason, maybe you look at Vancouver, our lack of supply is because we're surrounded by mountains, ocean, the USA, and more mountains. So there's only so much land. We've got a lack of supply. Prices below replacement cost. Is there future growth potential? So there may be some towns in Alberta that don't have future growth potential. Just be aware of it and don't invest in those towns. Invest where money is going to be flowing. Maybe there's a new oil discovery. I also like when there's infrastructure. If there's some kind of a pipeline being built or a highway or a bridge. Fort St. John saw great growth because of the Site C Dam. Just look for where there's going to be infrastructure. If there's going to be light rail transit or any kind of transit expansion in Edmonton, buy along those transit lines. Look for where the stations are going to be. Buy there. Large population, that's one of the big pluses of Edmonton. Is even in this slump, if you're a good property manager, you can outmanage the guy across the street. Somebody comes to you and says, I'm moving out. You say, why? You say, well, because Joe across the street is going to give me $50 less per month rent. He's like, hey, I'll give you $50 a month less, and I'll give you a brand new microwave from London Drugs. Whatever it takes, Give you a vacation to Vegas, whatever. But, keep thinking of that NOI and how expensive it is to get a tenant to go across the street. Keep your tenants. Be nice to your tenants. They're like clients. The other thing is strategic advantages. So I've got super strategic advantages in my partner Saromi because she knows student rentals backwards and forwards. We're going to make a killing on that East Vancouver single room occupancy. My partner in Sarnia, Katie O'Brien, awesome. Like I say, she's a real driver, but she also has depth. Her father's the retired police chief. When we have problems in our building, you wouldn't believe what the police do. We had a situation where one tenant locked himself in the room, and the police came and they had to knock the door down. We had another one that was fencing stuff that she ripped out of cars, and her boyfriend was ripping out of cars, and she was storing it all in her room. So she got carted off to jail. And we kept getting checks because the checks were coming from the government. Woohoo! But anyway, full contact property management. We got that building for $2 million because it had some problems. There were 6 bad tenants out of 31. So I went in and bought it, and I got rid of those 6 bad tenants with the help of Katie, of course. And for the last 2 years, we've had nothing. I sent my property manager an email yesterday. I said, Amanda, I think we should send a little newsletter. We haven't sent a newsletter for a while to the tenants, and she sent me an email back why should we do this? There are no issues. We used to send them a newsletter because the doors were being broken into, and kitchens were lit on fire. bicycles were stolen. Like, none of that has happened. So why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just thought it'd be nice. So we're going to send him a Christmas card instead. But anyway, that's my Katie. She runs a tight ship. And then Denise in Phoenix, she has a tremendous amount of experience in design. That's her strength. Is she took these units that were just horrible. Like we basically tore them down to the studs, and she made them just completely beautiful. So all the reviews we're getting back from Airbnb are 5-star. They're, we basically just built brand new condos for we spent about $20,000 per door. So we bought them for $68,000 a door, put in 20, and we're getting probably between $2,000 and $2,500 per door in terms of rent from the Airbnb. That's net to us. So hooray for strategic advantages. And well, I'm still okay. Can I tell them about the reason I have women as my partners? You might wonder why I have all these pretty women that are my strategic partners. Well, the CIA did a study, and I found that women are much more ruthless than men. Like, men are we're just pussies. I mean, we're just bleeding hearts. You need these women that are, strong. So the CIA were interviewing for an assassin. They needed a new assassin, and so they had 3 candidates that they boiled down from all their job interviews and all their tests. They got 3 people. 1 was a woman, 2 were men. And the final test was that they were standing outside of a room with a big steel door, and they went to the first man and said, inside there is your wife. And she's sitting in a chair. Take this gun, go in there and shoot her. And he says, I can't shoot my wife, Well, he just burst into tears, and they sent him home. You're not an assassin. Second guy. Here's the gun. Wife's in there, sitting on a chair. Go in there, shoot her. It's like, okay. Goes in there. A couple of minutes later, comes out and says, no, I just can't shoot my wife. No, I'll go home. I won't be an assassin. Finally, the woman comes up. They say, okay, your husband's in there, sitting in a chair. Here's a gun. Go in there and shoot him. So she goes in. He closes the door. A little bit of silence, and all of a sudden there's bang, bang, bang. There's all this commotion, bang, crash. They're looking at each other, what's going on? Finally, the woman comes out. I say, what happened? She's like, well, the gun he gave me was full of blanks, so I had to kill him with the chair. This is the difference between women and men. So anyway, I'll wrap this up. Some future deals I'm looking at is developer and I and Ozzy, we're working on a project in Parksville. So if you ever want to retire from Edmonton and move to Vancouver Island, contact me, because we're going to have some pre-sales there. We're going to have another one in Surrey in January. And again, there are 1,000 people a month moving into Surrey, so we think that's a hot place. Edmonton is on my radar. I don't have something tied up, but I'm going on the bus tour. And I understand that if I'm the first one to write an offer, I get a free sewer tour. Woo! Oh, sewer test. Something like that. Ontario, I'm still buying in Ontario. I have a 16-unit building under contract. And then across the street, I have a lady that's going to give me another 16. Actually, it's a 17-unit building, and she's going to give me vendor financing. 5% at 5% interest for 5 years for 80% loan to value. Bless her heart. So I'll have 16 plus 17 is 33 units more in Sarnia. And again, it's a strategic advantage. I think any place in Ontario right now with their new government and the business cycle improving, I think that's a good place to invest. And plus, you can buy houses dirt cheap. Like, it's unbelievable. Still can't believe I bought these houses for the price I bought them at. Phoenix, there are always deals in Phoenix. Love Phoenix. The other places I'm looking at, I'm not going to tell you because I don't have anything tied up, and you're going to go in there. When I started telling people I'm buying in Sarnia, all of a sudden I'm competing against all these people. Like, they were my students. Like, what are you doing? Get out of Sarnia. Go someplace else. There's lots of other cities. But anyway, use these fundamentals. Job growth, lack of supply, prices below replacement cost, future growth. Take a picture of this slide. Internalize it. Infrastructure, large population, strategic advantages, comfort level. What makes it comfortable to invest? You have to invest in the town you live in. By all means, do it. But if you can get the comfort level, you'll trust a property manager and a strategic partner someplace else. By all means, do it. The key to success is clarity and confidence. And will it be easy? No. But it's simple. Is it worth it? Absolutely. One of the things I love is when I'm hiking up a mountain. I really love hiking up to the tops of mountains. And I love it when somebody comes down and I go, was it worth it to see the view? And they go, yeah, it's totally worth it. Like, you need these people to kind of, jazz you. Keep coming to events like this every month where you're talking to people that have drunken the Kool-Aid and know that real estate is good. When you go back to work and you sit by the water cooler and they go, are you crazy? Like, you're investing in real estate? Are you nuts? My aunt lost some money buying real estate. Like, you got to hang out with people that are making it happen. Find a mentor, a coach that you respect that's more successful than you. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but somebody that's successful, somebody that's doing more than you that you can learn from. A guy like James. James has done, where is he? How many joint ventures have you done? 150?
250 units.
250 units. So this guy has bought 250 units with joint ventures. You think he'd be a good guy to learn how to do joint ventures with, or to do a joint venture with? Like, he does it in his sleep. My gosh, kudos to you. If you are interested in getting some mentorship, I do have an organization called the Real Estate Action Group. It's based in Vancouver, but James has been a mentor or a member for many years. He comes out to our meetings, and the first meeting he came to was our awards night, and he was just blown away, like, holy shit. Like, our award winners were like, oh yeah, this guy made $800,000 on a house flip, or, they bought, I can't remember which year you were doing it, but we have some amazing results from our group. So if you want information, send it to my email, ralph@reag.ca. In terms of just general information, I have a seminar called the Springboard to Real Estate Action that I do from time to time. So if you want to participate in that, it's just a 2-hour evening seminar. Send me an email and I'll get you on the list. You know when the next ones are coming up. I may come to Edmonton and do one someday because I love Edmonton and I'm going to start looking at deals in Edmonton. And then there's Jurong Case Investment Realty, where we're looking at Parksville and Surrey. And this slide I love because it says, if you don't own a home, buy one. If you own a home, buy another one. If you own 2 homes, buy 3. And lend your relatives the money to buy a home. Why not? I've drunken the Kool-Aid. The proof is in the pudding. But the bottom line, I think you guys are amazing. The fact you're here, the fact you're making the effort to go out on an evening when you could be sitting home on the couch drinking chamomile tea and watching reruns of Big Bang Theory. You're out here. You're doing it. So you're amazing. The price of success is belief. You got to believe you can do it. You have to have that clarity and confidence. And the more you do it, the more you get out of your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone will become. So work towards getting confidence and clarity. Remember Warren Buffett, the price is what you pay, but value is what you get. So it doesn't matter what market you buy in, you're buying value. If it's a cash flow property, don't care whether the market goes up or down. You're getting that monthly cash flow. So value, value, value. And the final thing, a quote from George S. Patton, is courage is fear holding on 1 minute longer. So if you're ever fearful, just hang in there, and all of a sudden people go, wow, did they ever have courage? Thank you very much, and happy investing. Sorry I went so long over. Yeesh.
All right,
I really got on a roll.
Ralph was on a roll, so we're gonna cap it at 3 questions, but you're gonna stick around and network and answer more questions, right? Like a question.
Otherwise, Romy won't give me a ride back.
Okay, I'll give you the mic back.
Okay, shoot your questions.
How many property you have in Edmonton and Calgary?
0. Horrible. So I got to get cracking.
It's going to change tomorrow.
Why? Why? Because of the cycle, or?
Yeah, I just felt that with what was going on with oil, and the funny thing is, if I flip you back to that chart of Vancouver prices, there was this little blip like this. And this is where the NDP were elected. It was 1994. And I bought my house in Vancouver, like right at the top of that blip, and then the NDP bought, and the chart goes like this. It goes flat for like 7 years. And I held on for those long 7 years. And those long 7 years were when I had those 3 houses doing the monthly rentals, and I ended up selling those. But you know, I have a feeling when you get a change of government, it's going to be a change of real estate attitude as well. And, you know, our market in Vancouver, who could have known we vote in the NDP and the Greens, and all of a sudden our real estate market goes, so that's my take on politics. But just because I'm not investing now doesn't mean I won't be investing tomorrow. Like, I think, you know, Edmonton's a great city. I think it has stable employment. I think what they're doing in the ICE district is fantastic. And Saromi is making good money on Airbnb, so there is potential here for getting cash flow. So think creative. If you have a building that is having vacancies, think about furnishing a couple of units. Figure out, exciting, innovative ways to make money that other landlords aren't doing. You'd be surprised how powerful that website is.
So you have a unit in Calgary. You have a property in Calgary?
No, I don't have property in Calgary.
None of them in Alberta.
No.
Oh.
I took my 30 grand and ran. Singed. Made 6, lost 30, made 30. So that made I was 6 up on the house. I'm out of here. But I love Calgary. You know, but it's a much more volatile city than Edmonton, I think, because they've got the white collar workers, the geologists, and the geophysicists. So when the market goes south, Calgary gets hit harder than Edmonton, because Edmonton, they still want to do the blue collar work, still keep the oil pumping. But I want that pipeline built, definitely. Another question? Oh man, how about that? I left them dumbfounded.
Wildly impressed. All right, let's give Ralph a big hand, guys. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, so if a guy that knows how to make $1 million in a month on a real estate deal is telling you that Edmonton's at the bottom of the cycle and he's flown here to scope it out, I don't know. What does that tell you?
I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, anytime he presents anywhere else in the country, Edmonton's in his 3 question mark list. But seriously, thank you so much, Ralph, for sharing some of your knowledge with us, and just fantastic stories. I mean, the thing about a true rock star in real estate is that you know how to make money in different markets, different ways, on different deals. And that creativity is why Ralph has been so successful year after year after year. And I mean, that's why, like you said, I fly to Vancouver to attend his real estate action group meetings, because that's where I do a lot of my research, that's where I do a lot of my learning, that's where I get a lot of my coaching and mentoring. So can't say enough positive things about Ralph, and I'm so excited that he came not only to talk to us for 45 minutes, but an actual hour and a half. So we got a little bonus Ralph tonight.
You get me going, you can't turn me off.
I love it. So obviously we're going to stick around and network for a little bit. We'll hold it over just a little bit longer because we have a little bit of extra time. I think the bus tour is full now, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll check with them. And then I think who snuck in late, but our local property managers. Give us a wave at the back. I know a lot of the Vancouver crowd here was saying who are the property managers we need to meet. So if you actually want to have a bit of FaceTime with them, right, can you guys stick around for a little bit, or is it getting past your bedtime? Okay, they'll stick around for a little bit. So those are our go-to guys. And is Sam still here? Sam's our vacancy contractor. So if you want to do property management light, where you just get your vacancy filled and then you manage it yourself by depositing the checks and whatnot, Sam will fill your vacancies all day long. He fills my vacancies. So super excited about that. Anyways, awesome meeting. Thank you guys for coming. Just like Ralph said, you could be sipping chamomile tea right now, and instead you're sipping knowledge. So congrats for taking action. I'm really glad you guys came out. Stick around and have a little networking. And we will see you last Wednesday of the month, like clockwork. That's the only reason we did Thursday, because of trick-or-treating yesterday. So end of November, we'll see you. And for those of you who are coming on the bus tour, looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning. If you are on the bus tour, try to be here by no later than 8:30, because we're going to have some opening remarks. And the bus is leaving at 9 sharp. Not 9:05, not 9:01, 9 sharp. Because we have a packed day tomorrow for those of you that are coming. So thanks again for coming, everybody, and we will see you next month.